Okay, this week's topic is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and mainly the craze that it turned out to be in the late 80s, early 90s, when all of us were pretty much kids. Very impressionable to violence, I would say. So it was the perfect amount to take our aggression on, I guess. So I guess my first entry point on this, mainly probably some of yours as well, was the cartoon. I had no idea comics were a thing or anything like that. So yeah, the cartoon is where I really hopped on the wagon, I guess. What about you?
I guess I remember the cartoon some. Didn't really watch a whole lot of cartoons, but I know that was one of them that I did tune into.
Yeah, I kind of got in at the cartoon level. I didn't know it originated from a comic until years later. I mean, this was, in the late 80s, that cartoon came out, like when the afternoon cartoon block was still huge, and you had Disney Afternoon, you had Saturday morning cartoons was still a thing, and the Turtles were just kind of everywhere. They had the catchy theme song. That was back when shows started to get theme songs. I think that's got like one of the catchiest ones of the bunch. It also played into like karate and ninjas, which for some reason in the late 80s, early 90s, like that stuff was like martial arts was like a big deal. I feel like that kind of disappeared, but yeah, it just kind of hit every note that as a young boy you'd be interested in. And they skateboarded, they ate pizza. I mean, why wouldn't you love that as a kid?
Yeah, no kidding. I know, like, when I was younger, I was so into them where I was jumping off the couch, like, punching people.
Oh, yeah. You had to.
I'm the turtle,
Right.
I think older people at that point, that was, like, their first... Like, after that, it was, like, Power Rangers and, like, everything else. But, like, before that, I don't think there was a younger influence that would make kids do something like that.
Right. Well,
could be wrong, I guess.
They were almost kind of, like, super... Like, Marvel. Like, replace Marvel... how popular like the superhero thing is now. Like the Turtles kind of filled that void. There wasn't the superhero craze. They were more or less superheroes. They were just mutant Ninja Turtles.
Right.
Yep. So let's talk about the cartoon a little bit. Right off the bat, the theme song is great. Really catchy.
Yes.
And I mean, you can hear it. You could sing it right now, like just right off the bat. And yeah, it lines up with the action perfectly, I think. It really gets you pumped.
Yeah, just super memorable too, yeah. Well, it does like a good job of, for a 30-minute show, it does a good job of like setting up the entire plot of what the Turtles is all about. Their origin story in this, just quick little intro song that kind of just sticks with you. As soon as you hear that music, you're, tapping your foot and you're hearing the lyrics in your head.
Yep. I mean, when I first saw it, I think it was mainly because my friends were really into it, so I ended up catching it. I guess I don't remember. I was still pretty young to remember exactly how I got onto it, but I'm sure it was from some sort of influence instead of just, and actually checking it out.
Yeah.
I guess I'm in the same situation. I don't remember why I watched it, but I know I started watching it and like going over to a friend's house and seeing all the later on, but all the toys and stuff they had.
Yep.
Well, that's a big thing. Was like the marketing machine behind this was huge. I can remember seeing
that was the point of it.
Yeah,
right?
I remember seeing news stories about like Turtle Mania, like the craze with the toys and like hottest item this holiday season. Before I even saw the introduction of the show as a kid, because I was probably in first grade, first or second grade when the series premiered. First grade, I'd imagine. So like I remember day one coming home after school, because I always had like the teaser trailers of like upcoming shows on the networks, and yeah, instantly hooked on Turtles.
Yep. Who's your favorite turtle then?
Michelangelo. He's the coolest.
Leonardo.
Donatello
would be second for me.
Donatello is my favorite one in the video games because he has the most reach.
Well, yeah.
Right.
And I think we can all agree that Raphael is an asshole. and then
Yep.
nobody should
Yeah.
select him as a favorite. He's just a dick. He's,
Yep.
Yeah, him as a favorite. He's just a dick.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Well, at least we're all agreeing there. Well, let's speaking of influences, let's think of the amazing vocabulary that the Turtles introduced into pop culture, like tubular, radical, bodacious. I mean, those were all words that like every kid used in their vocabulary. I think in large part, well, not only to the Turtles, but they certainly helped spread this like weird surfer lingo of absurd words into pop culture.
I was going to do some research, but I didn't get to it. Trying to track down the history of Cowabunga, because I know Bart
Cowabunga.
Simpson also said that.
No,
So I don't know.
I think the
Don't
Turtles
know
had to
if it
beat
was
it.
Bart
I
or-
bet the Turtles did it.
Yeah, it's probably
Gosh.
true.
I'm going to Google quick.
I'm doing it right now.
Are you? Okay, because now, we cannot move on from the segment. We need to know when that aired. Because we know
Term.
Turtles aired, the cartoon aired. We don't know about the comic in '87. When did The Simpsons premiere?
Well,
Because
the term Cowabunga first said in 1953 by Chief Thunderthud on the Howdy Doody Show.
that guy. Yep.
Oh, totally. How did I forget that? Well, when did The Simpsons start? Do you know?
Simpsons started
It was like
Was it
the same time,
87?
86, 87 or something like
maybe
that.
88, though. If it's 88, then we know the Turtles got them beat.
Yeah.
89 first aired.
Ah, yep. So it was
Really?
the Turtles.
Yeah.
There we go. Definitive answer. We're going to upload that to Wikipedia later. No one correct us.
I mean, those were the two biggest things, like Turtles and Simpsons, I think, for me at least, were synonymous
Yeah.
with just like how popular they were.
Except I was allowed to watch one of them, and I wasn't allowed to watch another one.
Right.
But I still loved
right.
them both.
Yes.
Bart Simpson's the coolest. Oh, really? You watched the show? No, I can't. I was like 12 before my parents let me watch that show. I think I first got to watch The Simpsons in like 1995. It was ridiculous.
My parents were the same way. And then, you start watching it in 1995 and you're like, this is why, what were you trying to block me from?
Yeah, exactly. And then not only you're watching it, like everyone's watching it on like,
Right.
the families in the living room watching The Simpsons. So
But, the Turtles influenced me to punch people in the nuts. So I guess that was fine.
any excuse you can get to punch somebody in the testicles.
Right. I think another big thing about this is the mainstay of kind of the rogues gallery of bad guys in the cartoon as well. A lot of them are still around today, and as soon as you pick them up, you can tell who they are.
Yeah.
That's one of the few. I think they certainly rotate between the bad guys in the cartoon, but there's also ones that are kind of one-off characters. And then April O'Neil, like that yellow jumpsuit, like I don't know, I can't believe they could pull that off in can't believe you could pull that off in 1987, but
I wish you'd have pulled it off in 1987. She was like one of the standouts for me on the arcade cabinet. Was like that real life April O'Neil on the side of the arcade cabinet. Like, it was just so funny.
Yep, another redhead. Yep.
Yeah. Oh god. I guess I have a thing. I don't know. So, I mean, and not only was the show huge among kids, but very quickly, Turtle Mania kind of swept all of pop culture and went to live action movies. Like, I mean, they must have started production on that like almost immediately after launching the animated series and seeing the success of that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, 1990 was the first one.
Yeah.
And I watched both of the first two this week again, and tell you what, the first one totally holds up, and it's
first
really
one
true to the cartoon.
Yeah. It is dark though, like real dark for a movie that a bunch of like kids under 10 went to. Like, that is an adult ass movie with some scary ass themes and like settings. I mean, not that it's vulgar or overly violent, but they didn't like, make it dumb it down and make it a kiddie show. It's an action movie, an adult driven action movie.
Right. And it kind of clashes because it does have that. I mean, the Turtles act the same as they do in the cartoon. They are, saying the same stuff,
Yeah.
acting the same way.
In this
I will
weird
say,
real
though,
world context.
Yeah, I will say in the movies that there's not much personality in between them.
No.
I feel like they all are the same character. Where in the cartoon, it's Donatello's the smart one, and Leo's the leader, but in these movies, like if you would say a line from the movie, you wouldn't be able to tell which one it was. They all are the same character.
That's true. That is true. But I mean, I suppose in the time frame, you've got to build out although, there is that like cutaway at the farmhouse after, spoilers if you haven't seen this from 1990, where Splinter's been taken and they're like doing like a little montage and April's writing about it. I mean, they tried to build character. But yeah, I mean, I think it's hard in that context, but I think they captured a lot of what the Turtles was about, doing, morally taking the high road and family, whatever that may be. I also love, so when Casey Jones was introduced in the animated series, he was essentially, I mean, kind of a bad guy turned ally. I didn't really like him too much in the animated show, but I think he's probably the most interesting character in that first movie, and the actor who plays him does a great job.
Yeah, I think so too. I totally agree with that.
I agree there too.
That whole farm, when they like run away and are at the farm, though, that is a weird bit when you actually think about it.
Yeah.
But for what you would envision in a TMNT video or a game or movie.
Movie? We'll get there.
Yes.
So then hot on the heels of that, I mean, that movie did very well. I don't think there's any like debate about that. That swept box offices. Everyone was talking about that in the playground. Adults, kids, everyone was watching that. So just a year later, we got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on that. That's personally my favorite one. I think they add a little more comedy into it, which brought some of that character that you mentioned was lacking from the show. They had a bigger budget, it looked like. I liked that they didn't, they went with Toka and Razor, which was kind of, I guess, the equivalent of Bebop and Rocksteady, but for the live action movies. It was just like everything amped up and more polished. And I think even today with the new Turtle movies, which we're not getting into, this is still my favorite definitive live action Turtle movie.
Plus, then you get the hit song from Vanilla
Ice. Yeah, Ice Ice Baby. And the Turtle Rap. I mean, that guy was killing it in 1991.
Yeah. For me, this movie didn't hold up as well as what I remember it.
I guess
for me, it was like it is a lot more kiddie, I guess. The jokes were a lot more juvenile, I guess, which maybe that's a good thing, I guess. It just doesn't hit as good when you're 30 some years old, But yeah, that Vanilla Ice section it's something to behold. It's like this seemed probably in 1991 like a good decision, but now looking back at it,
I don't think that was a
train
good decision in 1991. Even I'll be quite honest.
But when you like think about that, like if you were making a movie, like it almost like they were shooting a movie and then Vanilla Ice showed up and they're like, well, we're contractually obligated to have him in here doing something. So then the director is like, oh, well, let's whip up a concert here quick and just have them fight in the middle of it.
Yeah, I can just see the production crew. Like, this movie's coming along. You know what it needs, though? What's that, Bob? More Vanilla Ice. Oh my God, you're a genius. Get this man a raise. It's probably like some production assistant's like cousin was Vanilla Ice. So like he'll literally work for $1. Like, let's just bring him in.
Yeah. And I don't know, that the end of that movie like is so, I don't know, the way Shredder, kind of becomes the main bad guy.
Yeah.
And like grows to power and then like instantly is finished in the worst possible way, or just kind of the lamest way.
By himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, he kicked his own ass. I mean, the Turtles didn't even do anything.
Right. And then it was like, you're still there like, well, is he dead? Like, there has to be more. And it's like, no, he did it. He's dead now, or whatever. It's like, I don't know.
I haven't watched him recently, but like thinking back, I think I have to go with Ryan and say with the second one being like the one that I remember being the best one. But I'll have to go back and watch them again. I was going to and just wasn't able to. The first one, how does that start out? Is that where they deliver the pizza to the sewer?
Yeah, that's the opening
Yeah,
scene.
Domino's Pizza,
Domino's,
Right.
yeah.
which is a
Product
travesty.
placement. Yeah.
Then the second one's in that like store mall, isn't it, or whatever?
Yeah. Yep.
I think
Yeah,
that's the
those
second
robbers. Yeah, they open with that. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think theatrically, the original is a more solid, cohesive, well thought out movie. But I just think from an overall package, even as goofy as it is, I still gotta give it to number 2.
I do like the first one where they're like, where kind of like all the delinquent kids just hang out.
With this
At,
sweet
like, a
ass
skate ramp.
arcade and like a giant skate. Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Right. And then they're like, oh, you might turn in the Foot Clan, but like that seems like a perfectly fair trade to me.
especially it wasn't like, was this still the Reagan administration? Like they have this like mob syndicate, like recruiting kids by having like a giant open arcade and like skateboard gymnasium. Like, oh my God, it's great.
Yeah. But we're not going to talk about the third one because that one's just plain awful.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's stop while we're ahead.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as somebody brought a script and said, what if the Turtles go back in time, it should have ended right there.
Sold.
Should have been. Yeah.
But I think the third piece and the final piece to Turtle Mania and the equation and their road to world dominance was the toy line, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this whole thing, you talking about the cartoon and like the movies shortly after and the toys, like it was perfectly orchestrated to be all encompassing. Like they knew what they were doing. It's not like they thought they would have a hit on their hands. They had all this lined up that, basically knowing that they're going to be able to do this.
Yep.
I mean, it's all to sell toys, right? For the most part.
Absolutely. I mean, in that period, every kid, for every birthday party you went to, you brought a Turtles toy for the gift, or Christmas, holidays, you asked for Turtles. I mean, it really the biggest competing toy line at that time was G.I. Joe, which had an animated series still in the air, and I just remember I flipped a switch. I was completely all Turtles, like, once the Turtle toys were on the scene, and the show, and, like, it was unbelievable. Every kid had figures, it didn't matter.
Yeah, there was so many iterations of those figures, too. It's crazy.
Yep. Well, and there was really cool. There was like the turtle van. There was this turtle bike. There was that like giant street play set. I think was there a Technodrome toy too? I have to believe there was.
Yep.
That was expensive as hell though. I'm sure that was like what, $80 to $100 back in the day even.
Yeah, I didn't have it.
I think if I had any, it was the van. I know I had a lot of the action figures, but
The van
I
was
don't remember
sweet.
if I had the van or not.
Well, then if you think about it, like from a marketing perspective, those guys were geniuses. Because what do? You cast one mold for a turtle, and you just change the color of their bandana, the letter on their belt, and then mold a new cheap plastic toy. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but when you bought a Turtles toy, and this happened with other toys too, but I remember it predominantly with the Turtles, like all the weapons and stuff, they weren't cut out of the die. Like they came on this big grid. And you literally had to take a scissors or have your parents do it and like cut Michelangelo's nunchucks out of the die mold along with like the throwing stars and stuff. It's just bonkers. You couldn't do that today.
No, it was almost like a model car, right?
Yeah.
If I remember right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy. I remember having a lot of the ones that you had like this ripcord that you put in the back of their shell.
Yep.
And then you pulled it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
had quite a few of those.
Yep.
Say different things.
Yeah, and then they had the ones that came packaged like a little later on, the ones that came packaged with the ooze, and they would mutate from like actual turtle form to like larger turtles, and it was crazy. And I remember they even had a few figures that like, well, one for sure that you filled with water. Like its body held water and then like the parts floated around it. I can't remember what the enemy's name was, but yeah. Great action figures. I still have mine somewhere.
I have no idea where mine are.
Yeah, I wouldn't know where mine are either. I'm sure they're in a tote someplace.
Under your pillow, waiting for you.
They're not in their package, I know that.
Right.
So they're probably not very valuable.
It did take over the world, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So did you guys? So like I've been watching the newer movies, but there was like a period in the mid 2000s where it kind of made a resurgence, and I was totally checked out on that. I never even saw one piece of that.
The Nickelodeon series.
There was a was it
The
Nickelodeon?
3D
There was
one,
a
right?
series.
Yeah, the 3D
Yeah, and then there
one
was
was
a
Nickelodeon.
movie.
Yeah, the TMNT movie. Yeah, that kind of came. That was like the first big step off of that, like getting back into the movie realm, and it isn't very good. To be honest, the enemies are not well thought out. The characters are more or less the same. I think the central point of that animated one is that Raph's a hot-headed douche, and like he gets kidnapped, and like they lose him, and whatever. Go figure. But I wouldn't say it's particularly good. I mean, it's not. It doesn't fit the canon of what your traditional Turtle story was.
Sure. Huh. Well, for me, TMNT Out of the Shadows is the second best Turtles movie.
I'm just getting my keys. I'm going to be driving over in about an hour and a half. Open your door and expect someone to slap you. It won't be me. It'll be
No, I don't know why. Just watching The Secret of the Ooze again just really dropped it down. And maybe it was just the mood I was in watching it. I don't know.
I would put Out of the Shadows at my third, if that makes you feel any better.
Sure.
But I still, to me, there's like a huge gap. Yeah. That'll have to be we need to revisit like another TMNT, like legacy, like post that initial hype sometime, and just get into all the other good stuff. And we can get into the ins and outs of where it currently sits. Because it is back, right? I mean, we didn't really talk about that, but Turtles are back on the scene almost as big as ever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know a lot of kids in that age range right now, but you would think so.
Yeah.
By as many toys as I see.
Right. Well, they've been reissuing a lot of the classic toys, too, I've seen.
They got a cartoon going, or is it just the movie?
That's a good question. I don't know. Yeah, no.
Sure. I mean,
there is still a cartoon. Yeah, my kids watch it. We have it. We play it from Hulu. I think it's a Netflix show. Not Netflix. Nickelodeon. But yeah, I believe it is still going. And it's actually pretty decent now, again.
Yeah. Oh, shit. I should have mentioned that the first Turtles movie is like the highest grossing independent film of all time.
Seriously?
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing.
Like a big studio didn't take it on.
I bet they were kicking themselves after they saw the box office revenue.
Yeah.